Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alan Joins, Mayor of the City of Winston-Salem, and it's my pleasure to welcome you today to this virtual unveiling of a historic marker for the Bowen neighborhood. It is so appropriate that we do these markers throughout the city, and we have recognized neighborhoods and organizations and buildings and things of that nature. The work of our Historic Properties Commission is vital to preserving the fabric of the history of our city. Today, you'll hear much more about the Bowen Avenue neighborhood and its importance, particularly to the African-American history of our city. It's one of the earliest, more affluent neighborhoods for African-Americans, and tremendous pride of those individuals who live there, and tremendous pride today from families looking back on their growing up in the Bowen Park area. We have a number of speakers today, and I'm going to turn it back now to Heather, but thank you for being with us today, and thanks to the members of the Historic Properties Commission for your hard work, not only for today, but throughout the year in helping us to preserve our history of Winston-Salem. Thank you.
Councilmember Parman.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You have some things to share with us, with our audience?
Oh, so thank you for the board, Mayor Jones, Councilmember-elect Burke. It is definitely an honor and a privilege to be a part of this event today. It's an honor to be a part of a historic event. And as the representative of the Northeast Ward, when we talk about the history of Bowen Park, we have to recognize the residents who live in that area as well, who has made Bowen Park what it is. You know, specifically Carl Russell and Vic Johnson and those, because it takes a community for it to thrive to be what it has been. And just if people didn't know, Carl Russell actually started one of the first the first black newspaper here in Winston-Salem. It was a spokesman's paper. It was in 1945. Also, you have Vic Johnson, who had the Golden Leaf Award, you know, one of the most highest honors that you can get here in North Carolina. So to have these type of residents and individuals who live in those very communities who represent us speaks high measures. So their work has not been done unnoticed. The residents should applaud themselves because they have kept Bowen Park, you know, thriving and growing, not only just the park, but the community as a whole. So kudos and hats off to everybody. So again, to be a part of this momentous occasion with the historic marker, I thank everyone for participating.
Thank you so much for those words, Councilmember Parman. Councilmember-elect Burke, if you would like to unmute and go ahead and share your comments.
Thank you so much. I apologize. I did have my mute button on. I also would like to echo what Councilwoman Parman said. This is a historical community. It is one of the first subdivisions that African Americans lived in our community. And speaking about Carl Russell, he was a former alderman right here in Winston-Salem, and he was mayor pro tem right here on city council. So this is a historic moment, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be part of this unveiling event. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much for joining us. And now we're going to hear from Ted Gunther, who is a member of our Historic Resources Commission. And then once Ted is finished speaking, we will share the video that the city's Marketing and Communications Department came up with covering the history of Bowen Park.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Gunther, and I am a member of the Forsyth County Historic Resources Commission. On behalf of the Commission and the Historic Marker Committee, I'd like to thank you for attending this celebration of the history of Bowen Park. The History Marker program began in 2001. We placed 59 markers throughout Forsyth County. Historic markers help residents remember and learn about important places, events, and people in the community's collective history. These markers help mark a spot in history that should not be forgotten. Today, we are here to talk about Bowen Park. It is one of the first subdivisions built after World War II in Winston-Salem, specifically for the African-American buyers. The neighborhood is notable for the strength of its community and the enduring contributions its residents have made to the history of Winston-Salem. Once again, thank you for joining us today for this celebration of our history.
The Bowen Park community was built for African-American homebuyers in Winston-Salem after World War II. It was surveyed and marketed in 1945 by J.W. Farrell Company and was named for the original landowners, Robert and Louise Cox Bowen. It was expanded by Cloister Homes in the late 1950s. The northern border is 25th Street. The western and southern edge is a curving Bowen Boulevard, and it's bordered on the northeast and east by the Smith Reynolds Airport. The community is now 13 blocks and averages 1/10 of an acre for each lot. The homes were a step up for many when the neighborhood was built. They were stick-built, had new appliances, could not be valued at less than $2,500, and they were mostly brick veneered. They had small stoops or front porches and modest backyards. Many are still owner-occupied today. But neighborhoods are made of people, and inside these brick homes were young black families, college-educated professionals, some starting out and others looking to upgrade their housing. Velma Watts was among them. During the expansion in 1958, she and husband Roland heard about the neighborhood.
We were newlyweds, and the opportunity to purchase a home so early after we'd been married was quite appealing to us. And we did. We looked into it and were able to purchase one of the homes. And while we didn't know many of the neighbors, once we moved in, it was a big family-like. People were very friendly. The children played out in the street and played baseball in the yards, and it was just a friendly place. And I still, even though it was a long time ago and we were only there for 4 years because we had begun to increase our family and we needed more space, so we moved out. But some of those same people are still my friends. So that tells you what kind of cohesiveness there was in that neighborhood.
Bowen Park has been home for many notable members of Winston-Salem's black community. Watts earned a PhD and became a professor at Wake Forest School of Medicine. Her husband, Roland, was chairman and professor of the Fine Arts Department at Winston-Salem State University. They aren't the only notable figures claiming Bowen Park as home. Victor Johnson, a longtime educator, coach, school administrator, school board member, and recipient of the Order of the Longleaf Pine, still lives here with his wife, Dr. Constance Johnson, on Manchester Street. Dr. Johnson, notable in her own right, worked in general studies and was director of testing at Winston-Salem State University. There's also her Aunt Lula Mae Morrison, who worked as a public health nurse and administrator from the 1930s until she retired in 1970. Finally, there's Carl Russell, owner of the Russell Funeral Home. He served on the city's Board of Aldermen from 1961 to 1977, serving as mayor pro tem during his final 10 years. This family still owns his house on 23rd Street. Parking this 1973 Chevy truck in the driveway of this home on 24th near Machine Street is like turning back the hands of time. It's been painted and kept up, but it originally belonged to Mr. Benjamin H. Piggott. His son Ben Piggott still drives it today. The family moved here in 1958, the first owners of the house. We showed Ben where his mother and father signed to buy the home.
Oh, wow, that's my daddy. And remember I told you the Richmonds? It's right there. Wow, that's my mama. That's heavy. Robert Perry, wow. Oh man, this is awesome.
This Bowen Park home takes him back to a time he appreciates today.
I call this the place of dreams, success stories, and motivation. And either go to work or go to college. This was the place because you were surrounded by a village of people who didn't want you to fail. Failing was not an option here.
Piggott has story after story of growing up in Bowen Park.
First of all, I had to give them eye-to-eye contact, which my mother always told me, always look a man in the eye. And they would collect the pop balls and give you a nickel. Some pop balls, they'll give you a dime. And we were so happy to get there.
What stands out the most is the interest neighbors took in expecting the best from the next generation.
These good neighbors were always grooming. You was always on your guard. They would ask you questions every time. Even before you played. What do you plan to be, young man, when you grow up?
His parents instilled work ethic through working the land. What is today's Bowen Park on the south side of Bowen Boulevard, a playground, walking trails, and restrooms, was once the Benjamin H. Piggott family garden. His sister, Felicia Piggott Anderson, says the work ethic and being surrounded by people who cared gave them the confidence they needed.
When I walk out in the yard and I look at Miss Carter or Miss Jones or Miss Marshall or Mr. Brody, and I see that they have endured, it lets me know I can make it too. Or Mr. Gillum, I know he was a postman, and he would always encourage us to, well, you try out for the postal test. Go ahead, go to college and try out for that and do this. They always had suggestions about things that you could do. So it was like they never felt like you couldn't achieve. You're not limited. That's what this neighborhood taught us. We are not limited.
Construction in the 1940s and successive expansions didn't lock the homes into one style. This one on the corner of 24th and Manchester tells the story well. This is where we find Dr. Constance H Johnson and her husband Victor Johnson. Constance's mother, her aunt Lula Mae Morrison, and their brother Albert bought these 3 lots at an auction in 1947.
We just kept the property from 47 until we decided in 1962 to build a home, because prior to that time, we lived on Ivy Avenue. It's a large 2-story home designed and built by family. My aunt, Nurse Morrison, happened to have been looking in the paper at drawings of homes, and she saw this particular drawing. And it wasn't exactly the way this ended up being, but she liked it. And then we got an architect who was also a family friend to redraw some of it.
A cousin, Benjamin Carpenter, built the home, recommended select stone for the fireplace, wormwood planks, and the custom drip ceiling. It all adds up to a warm and inviting home. But what warms her heart today is the story of the people.
Mrs. Elizabeth Wright was very community-minded, and we had a club called the Bowen Park Cooperative Community Club. And we met in the various homes, and from time to time, we'd have teas. Ms. Wright also had concern for family and neighbors. And they would, when anybody got ill, she would always say, Sister Sawyer, has been ill for such and such a time, so we need to give her a sick benefit. And we give monetary donations to neighbors that had been ill for a certain period of time.
And she has stories of her children.
The children played, and my daughter was saying to me, I was talking to my daughter one day, and we were going down Bowen Boulevard, and I saw some children down there playing in the creek. And I said to her, I said, I wonder where their parents, and they're down here playing in this creek. She said, the same place that you were when I was down here playing.
An iconic element of Bowen Park was formed outside the neighborhood and many years earlier than the first plat was drawn. At the corner of 25th and Bowen Boulevard sits John Wesley AME Zion Church. Inside that brick veneer is a stick-built structure that once sat in Columbia Heights. There it served as the home of Slater Industrial Academy, the precursor to today's Winston-Salem State University. Slater Industrial sold the building to the People Choice AME congregation in 1917. The church relocated the building in 1959 to make way for U.S. Highway 52. The congregation became John Wesley AME Zion Church on October 24, 1967. This was the first non-residential building in the community. Having a historical marker is about keeping history alive for others to enjoy.
If you don't keep up with it, you lose it. And for those reasons, I think it's very significant. And I was very proud that we did it.
Bowen Park now has a historical marker. The community was home for many blacks seeking their part of the American dream in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, a place viewed fondly for the foundation it laid, the men and women it made, and the home it continues to be today. For the City of Winston-Salem, I'm Ed McNeil.
Well, I would like to thank all of you for being here, in particular the city's Marketing and Communications Department and Ed McNeil for putting this together, as well as Dr. Constance Johnson and Ms. Phyllis Walker, who are the neighborhood residents who worked diligently to get this marker awarded to Bowen Park. Thank you for joining us.